Suddenly there was a threat to this world from some other species, from another planet.
I was spotting down the firing range for several shooters when all of a sudden I saw a large, hairy creature walking from right to left.
We also know there are known unknowns. That is to say, we know there are some things we do not know. But there are also unknown unknowns. The ones we don't know, we don't know.
Encounter Brigade, welcome to the team.
Hey, good evening, everybody. This is the Sasquatch Encounter Brigade. This is episode 11, second one of the new year, even though we're well into almost spring. Tonight, joined by Angie, Happy Harris, and Scott. Johnny Two Bears is on his way home from his kids' ball practices. And then hopefully here in a little bit, we'll have two guests that accompanied Scott and Angie out on the Swamp Project expedition. But anyways, how's everyone doing tonight?
Good. Doing great.
Yeah. So, just real quick recap. Team's been somewhat busy in the last several months. We had a group that got together here over in outside of Augusta, Georgia area. We did a field expedition to Happy Harris's encounter location. You can see the documentary footage that Johnny Two Bears put together. It's on the YouTube channel. And then Angie and Scott, they put together a interesting swamp expedition down in the Okefenokee Swamp. Yeah, you know what? I knew I was probably going to screw that up. Yeah. But anyway,
the South Georgia Swamp.
Exactly. The real big one down there.
Yeah, one you got to go around.
Yeah, exactly. And then it's funny because I was awake when you guys had all of your stuff happen. It was around midnight or something, and all these texts started coming, and then
we had to go ahead and let y'all know.
Yeah, that's for you all to start talking about. But anyways,
that was a mess. Yeah.
Angie, why don't you go ahead and kind of start off or start on how that swamp was kind of picked, or someone reached out to you, right? And then I'll obviously you kind of put your super sleuth skills to work and started planning. But it was your first field investigation, so
no, actually, Heard County was.
Oh, Heard County. Oh, yeah, that's right. But
Heard was an interesting place too, though.
You want to talk about Heard County and then the swamp?
Yeah, we're gonna do that. That way, it gives John and April time to get home and get logged in, so they can talk about the swamp. Because really, all four of us experienced all of that. So
yep,
it was crazy. But anyway, So Heard County. I just kind of had a feeling about it, and I've heard a lot of stories about the area, so I just reached out on Facebook to somebody that might have some knowledge of some land or something, and Billy Osborne responded, and he was like, "I got some hunting land that after hunting season we can set up and see what happens," and that's what we did. So me and Scott and Billy, all three met for the first time that Saturday morning, drove out to one of Billy's hunting camps and went exploring. And it just happened to have a swamp on it. And Billy had heard a sound, a howl or growl, whatever you want to call it, a year or so before, I believe. So we kind of went in that direction, and that's when things, we found some really strange stuff.
Yep.
So, as a hunter and someone that works, in the outdoor and hunting industry, I kind of respect. Was it Mr. Billy? You said,
Yeah.
Hmm.
Hmm.
yeah. His approach to this. Uh, I got stuff going on, but y'all come after hunting season. That means he's got big bucks.
Yep. Oh yeah. Yeah. He's got
Absolutely.
a bunch of property that he manages, and he's got people going in and out of there all the time. So he's a busy guy.
That's right. Don't come messing up my hunting spot.
Yeah. Pretty much.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Yep. Yep.
Well, whenever we got there, it was actually quite beautiful. So I just took out my phone and I was just videoing the swamp, just showing how pretty, I was going to show my friends how pretty it was. And Scott had walked off to the left looking around, and just so happened he did a light whistle to get mine and Billy's attention. And when he did, it just a few seconds later, I was able to capture a grunt on the video that in response to his whistle. So I have it. If anybody, I could try to play it. I'm not too good with computers, so
How many whistles was it?
One night, when Billy was taking us down toward the swamp, where in the direction where he heard that roar.
yeah, roar.
So anyway,
That's right.
So him and his son heard that roar years ago, and it bothered him ever since. So I walked off to the left to try to figure out a way to go around a large body of water, and heard two grunts that they didn't hear. And because I heard them, I looked back and I whistled at them one time to get their attention, kind of lightly. Unbeknownst to me, Angie was videoing, and they responded to my whistle. So that would be the third one, but it come from the opposite side of where we were, and grunted again. So we didn't even know we had it on video until she played it all back. But it's quite. But they were there. I mean, they were in that swamp watching us as soon as we arrived. So we moved on down through this 4-wheeler trail, basically. I found some light tracks and whistled at them again, and they came on up. And then we moved on down the trail. And you want me to keep going, Angie? I will, or you can pick up. So we took some pictures and measurements of these light prints, 2 different sizes, a small one, small Bigfoot print, and a large one. I know that's what they were. I've been trained to look at them. People have taught me what to look for. And so from that point, we just kept following that trail down to where I started seeing arches on the right. We walked into that area, and there were arches, tree structures all over this tiny little peninsula that had water around it on 3 sides, and then the trail we were walking in. So it was a little habitation area. About that time, in that time frame, Angie noticed scratch on the pine tree, which is probably one of the pictures that she wants to bring up and has researched that. If you want to go into that, then that was interesting to find out.
Yeah, we found a tree that the bottom of it, a huge amount of bark had been peeled off. It wasn't chewed on. There were no teeth marks. Something literally peeled off the bark and left with the bark. The pine sap was still running, down the tree. It hadn't been done.
It was fresh. Yeah.
Yeah, it hadn't been done too long. And it got me to wondering, like, why would something peel the bark off of a pine tree and leave with it? And I thought, I bet it must have some medicinal purposes. So I looked it up, and it really does. It is amazing what, not the bark, but the pine sap is used for. It's used for coughs, colds, allergies, sinus infections. If it can be used topically, it helps with like if you have a cut or something. It helps the cut to heal. It says native people across the continent have used it for centuries. The Cherokee, the Apache, countless other groups. So, I said maybe they, one of them was sick or
Good.
injured,
And
and
the habitation place is a great place for them to take care of all that. That pine tree was right beside it.
yes, it was. So I can try to share the picture.
That's interesting too. What you brought up there, Angie, because you know, my limb from my amputated leg, when it had some bad open sores, the doctors had me use this product called Medi Honey, and it comes out like pine sap. You know,
Hmm.
Mhm.
It's also
and,
insect repellent.
yeah, supposed to rub it on a wound, and it just kind of like covers and adheres, and real sticky. So I imagine
Hmm.
yeah, I mean, when it first time you're using it, I was like, man, it's like pine sap. So
Hmm.
I know it works on my wounds, and closes them up and helps them heal quicker. So
Well, I
yeah.
did notice the beds that y'all had found were made from pine straw, and
Yep.
I read that it was a natural insect repellent. So it kind of
Hmm.
made me wonder if they don't prefer to make beds out of pine straw just to help, with insects. It could.
They
No.
probably have down in the swampy areas. Up in the mountains, they'll have something different that they can utilize up there. I mean, they got pine straw too. Um, but that first bed we found, not getting over into that one yet. I have there's some different theories on what it was, but we'll talk about it then.
Okay.
But yeah, insect repellent, most definitely.
Hmm.
Yeah. So would y'all like me to try to screen share the picture of the tree?
Yeah.
And then I also
Give it a
have
whirl.
the Grunt video. All right.
Sure.
Bear with me.
Hang on,
I got
folks.
my secretary right here to help me.
Hang on, folks. Angie's doing something technical. Hang
All right.
on.
Oh,
Right there.
but
Yeah.
gotta
I'm
be
gonna
better
shut
than
it down.
gotta be better than me.
All right. We're gonna go to pictures for the tree.
Strike one.
Go to camera roll. All right. Well, okay, we'll go to downloads.
The the silence and the
There it is.
We're all,
Okay.
anticipation.
we're all
There's
sitting
the
here with
tree.
bated breath.
I'm like, oh god, it's the blue wire, Angie. It's the blue wire.
Can I see it? Can
But
y'all see it?
but she's colorblind, so we clip the
Can
Yeah.
dark
y'all
one.
see it?
I can't see it. No,
Do y'all see it?
Nope.
no,
No.
ma'am.
Just
Can
no.
you see it now?
Hey, hang on, hang on.
Oh.
Oh
No, wait a minute.
my
There it is.
goodness!
Got it.
Look at
Got
that.
it. Look
Well,
at
how
that.
about that?
Wow.
Yep.
Home run, Angie. Home
If you
run.
look at that picture right there, you could tell that it's pulled in a downward motion. It's not scratched. There's not claw marks like a bear.
And there's no bark on the ground. Like
Nope.
nothing pulled that off. It's something left with the bark. And I did
Yep.
read that most of the pine sap is found on the backside of the bark.
Okay.
So,
Yeah. And I
all
asked,
right.
I remember asking Angie if you saw any hair or anything.
I
But
did not.
yeah,
Didn't notice any at all.
yeah.
Okay. Now I'm going to play the grunt video for you guys. You
Woohoo!
just have to listen for Scott to lightly whistle, and then right after that, you'll hear it kind of make a bark sound. Sorry.
I don't hear anything, Angie.
It's coming, I promise. Y'all making me nervous.
Stop staring.
What, play? Okay. Now y'all listen. What is that noise?
That's a whistle.
But
What did y'all do that?
I would just like you to, I would like everybody out there to know that I do not whistle like that. That was not me.
Quiet, you can
I
still
want to
hear it.
believe too.
Listen.
That's got to be happy.
It was
I'm
not
sorry.
me. Gentle
I'm
whistle.
sorry.
Gentle
That was me. I mean,
All right, shh. Listen. Well, we missed it.
Well, you have video, but you don't have audio.
Through it.
Do it again, Angie.
Yeah, you got video, but you don't have audio.
You couldn't hear it? Oh,
Uh-uh.
it's no noise except for you.
Get-
Listen,
yeah.
no, there isn't any noise except for your light whistle and then the grunt. It says the audio's on.
I'm not even hearing water or birds.
Yeah, just video.
Yeah, I don't think we have any sound.
It just did it. Y'all missed it. Y'all talked through it again.
Y'all are hearing it, but it ain't
There
on
is
us.
no sound. I'm telling you, it's only silence, and then you hear your light whistle, and then you hear the grunt. All right, I'm gonna just back it up a little bit. Let's do that, so I don't torture y'all through all that. Listen. There it was. Did you hear it? All right, let's back up a little bit more. Mallory, let me get this thing backwards. A little bit further than that. Okay. There it was. Anyway, that was it. Did y'all hear it?
Mm.
No.
No.
But it's okay.
Well, you had to go back and listen to it.
Gotcha.
We'll upload that up on the YouTube channel. It'll
Yeah.
have the audio then, Angie. So.
Okay.
People can turn it up because I guess my headphones aren't hearing it.
I'm not hearing it either.
Thanked.
Okay.
Anyway.
So what? Alrighty. So then what was going on?
Well, I actually did a video of one of the trees that was pinned down, but I won't torture y'all with that. We'll load it on the in the group on Facebook and then on YouTube, so people can like see an example of. I mean, the trees were just pinned down all over the place.
Yeah.
That
Small ones, large ones. They were all sizes, all over the place.
Yeah, I took a good bit of pictures, so I'll load all those so people can actually see them.
And from that point, after sitting there for a while and listening, we didn't really hear anything. We moved on down the trail, just kept on going, following the water line. We found a few more tree structures, a lot of game trails. Billy was guiding us around another way to come back to our vehicles. We're making a big circle. And so we took a left into the tree line at a certain point near a hunting stand, and started walking up through the wood line. We started coming up to a clear cut where they had been taking trees down. And I smelled something, and then Billy smelled something. It was just, if you smell it, you'll know what we're talking about, but it's just a horrendous, rotten, dead smell. Angie didn't smell it, but the two of us did.
And I was between them.
Yeah, you were right between us.
I did not smell it.
And from what I know, if you smell them, they were either just there or they're really, really close. So I just started talking calmly and trying to communicate, and it finally went away. We kept going on back up to the vehicle. But my opinion, there was at least one right there just following us out, and it was pretty close for that smell to be honest. Excuse me, honest like that.
Yeah. Well, then nothing else really happened. We went and got some dinner and came back and just built a fire, got ready to sit up, recording as long as possible. And then we did, heard what we feel like is a Sasquatch howling. And I do have that audio.
Yeah, the howls were pretty good. We had to wait. I think I started recording at 7:00, and the real howls really picked up around 9:30. We had some good ones, but then we had a lot of background jets and trucks and hunting dogs, and we had all kind of stuff that can cloud up an audio. So there's some other things on that audio, but it's just really hard to filter out and figure out what it is. But we did get a few really good howls. I mean, to me they would sound just like what I've heard in North Georgia. So
I can try to play them.
Yeah, I would say how far away do you think they were, Scott?
Those two that we heard, I don't think they were more than quarter mile. I think they were back down toward Angie, you know what I'm talking about, either down toward the swamp or over toward the right where we kept hearing the dogs. And I think there's a huge power line over there.
Mm-hmm.
So somewhere in that direction. But they were quite clear, and they were quite clear, different than coyotes. I mean, you could hear it clearly. There was no doubt.
Some of the reports that people have told me have heard stuff on that particular river. It was actually on the new river. So it sounded to me like it was down the river.
And of course,
you want me to try to play it?
Yeah. Of course, sound can carry out there too. When it's cold, the leaves are down to quarter mile, half a mile.
Yeah. First. All right, we're gonna do. Yeah, that's it right there. Let's bring it on down to 159. Right, back up. Okay, that's probably good. And I apologize ahead of time if I don't cut it off soon enough. There is a cuss word said right after it, so I'm going to try to get it right after it, cut it off. And it wasn't me that said it, so.
Well, darn! I wonder who that was.
All right, I don't hear anything. Oh, I just need to hit that. Okay. You hear the coyotes first, and this blends in with the coyotes, but it overtakes the coyotes, and the coyotes actually stop. Coyotes.
It's not running.
You don't hear it?
Nothing yet.
Almost. Okay. Well, I don't know why y'all didn't hear it. It says the audio's playing. I tried.
All righty. Well, hey, how about
Onward.
that? How
Onward.
about that? Johnny Two Bears arrived. So no Howl, but we got Johnny. So that's good.
What's going on?
He's probably the one that whistled.
Hey, everybody's going to, instead of looking at my beautiful face, y'all are going to be looking at our brand new shirt selections this evening.
Oh.
Continue forward. So,
All right.
I'll throw that in there.
Nice.
Very nice.
So where y'all at?
We're discussing Heard County.
Okay.
We had to go with Heard County first because John and April was running late to talk about the Okefenokee.
Yep.
Cool. We'll continue on. Sorry, I'm late too. I'm here though.
Well, throughout the night, we just sat around the campfire and listened. We listened to coon hounds, and we listened to jets, and we listened to trucks. Somewhere along the way, Angie had an experience with some red lights, red balls of light. You want to explain that? That was the other highlight.
The place we were was, I guess it had been the loading dock for where they were doing some logging. And so it was very cleared off. And all around there was piles of stumps and pieces of trees and stuff like that surrounded us. And at one point, I had my little FLIR scope, and this is on into the night, and I'm just looking around, and all of a sudden I see two red heat signature like balls on top of one of the piles. And originally I thought it was heads looking over the pile. And then I was watching them, and then a few seconds later, a third one joined them a few feet on down. And, all I can tell you, there were white balls with red heat, and I don't know what it was. But Scott and them went over to check it out, and him and Billy went over there.
Yeah, we walked straight to the bank. She walked us right to them while she was looking at them, and there was absolutely nothing there. We walked up over the bank and looked behind it, and it was just pine straw and pine trees and dark.
So I have no idea what that was, but when they walked off, I heard something come by me, breathing. And you can hear it on the audio. I mean, it could have, like Scott said, it could have been a bat or something flying by me. I don't know, but it was just weird. And, of course, I made them come back over there because I was scared at that point because they had left me by myself. So,
hey,
anyway.
Angie,
she called us back.
Do you want to try to disconnect your headset? Just use your speakers and play it again? Because remember, I had that problem on one of our earlier episodes, and I was using headphones. So if you can take your headphones out, disconnect them from the computer, and just use your speakers, and then try and play it, that'll probably work.
Well, my daughter's left now. She was my IT person. So, yeah, I really don't want to try it. I'll be done messed up. I mean,
you could piss her off. Maybe she'll get you a new
I better not try it, guys. I'll just make sure, or y'all can help me make sure that everything gets posted on YouTube so people can listen for themselves.
And when you're on investigation, you don't want to make Angie mad. I'll just tell you that right now. Don't make her mad.
What did you do?
What? So crazy.
No, I can't. You got to go on a hunt. You just got to go on a hunt and see. If she gets mad, boy, look out.
I didn't even get mad not one time.
during the interviews.
Look,
you know who your buddy is.
Well,
Okay.
well, you know, and in a similar situation, you know, I mean, Johnny in the same boat. You know, you gotta keep him in the field and make the Mrs. Two Bears mad. You know what? You get a new phone, a new computer,
That's how
a
you
new
get new
Bronco,
equipment.
a
New truck. A new truck.
Yeah, new night vision recording camera,
New backpack.
and look at those wonderful T-shirts she made you.
Yep.
Those are fantastic.
And you got a brand new Bronco to pack it all in.
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
making me sound terrible.
I mean, man. And I told Johnny, I'm like, gosh, you know, just get her some flowers and then chocolate. No, I won't do that. No. No. So now you guys, okay, the Heard County, you got a lot of activity there. I mean, obviously, this is a place that you're going to return to, Angie, Scott?
I think so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Most definitely.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's enough activity there that we could go back and probably find more. You know, we had 1 day and 1 night. You know, if we'd have went in there for 2 nights, 2 days of scouting around, we had a lot more time to check out the area. Might have found something. And it was muddy and wet, and you had to walk in. I mean, we had to park really high. We had to walk down in there. So down toward the swamp, we couldn't really stay near the swamp where you'd have got a whole lot more activity. But they did. I mean, they came in pretty close. So that red clay and that road that goes down into the swamp that we had to walk down, if that was to dry out, we could drive down there and park and camp down there. I would be willing to bet we'd get even more activity or interaction than we did, because they would be more emboldened to come a little closer because they have a lot more cover. We were sitting in the middle of a field, which was good for the 1 night, but if you want interaction, you know, you got to let them have the high ground and be able to get a little closer, and they will.
All right, man. So what?
We stayed the night. Nothing else happened that we know of.
Huh. All right. And then what? Packed it in, came home.
As far as Heard County, it got pretty dang cold that night, and then woke up the next morning. I had to head home. Angie scouted around a little more, and you had a guest come by, and then y'all looked around a little bit more, and I headed home.
Yeah, I didn't find anything. Derek Hayes come over and paid us a visit.
Oh, Derek, yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Did he get a chance? Did he get a chance to look around and see some of those tie down trees?
No, he just stayed right there where we were. He just pulled in there to meet us.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it's first time we all met. It wasn't long, maybe 15 minutes.
Oh, okay.
And then we all went home.
Yep. And then
I was glad I survived my first.
A lot of people wanting to hear that.
Yep, Angie made her first expedition night. That was good.
Oh man,
I survived it. 29 degrees.
You got the stamp now.
I was so scared.
You got your expedition patch now. You're good to go.
And I survived the Okefenokee one, so I really got to get a patch.
You got the swamp patch too, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of like what I want to hear about, because Angie, you put a lot of effort in making that swamp expedition happen. You know, from interviewing a lot of people. A lot of those interviews reports Angie has written up very nicely and has been posting those on the Facebook page.
Yeah, I got to commend her for all the investigation and all of the advanced reconnaissance and going down there and checking out the area, which benefited us during the expedition, by the way. Had she not done that, we would not have been able to experience what we did that night. So you know, everything goes to Angie on this one. We
Well,
just
it's
help.
just strange how all that fell into place like it did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, I encourage you, Angie, to get
Is that the one you're talking about? The last one y'all had action on? Is that what you been talking about? Oh man.
No, we just talked about Hearn County, which that first one night when we went on. Now I guess we're moving into Okefenokee now. I guess.
I got you. My bad.
I was trying to see if John and April was ready yet, but
looks like John's on.
He's on standby.
Oh, is he good?
Yep. So, Angie, whenever you're ready to move into that, you guys go ahead, and we'll have him join, and just welcome him to the show.
Hey, John.
Hey, y'all. Can you hear me?
I can.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Gotcha.
What's up, John?
What's going on, man?
Long time no see.
Yeah.
Where's April?
She's in the car on her way home.
Oh. Okay.
So she got stuck on traffic on 85.
Oh, bless y'all's heart. All right. Well, we're just now starting to talk about the Okefenokee.
Well, hey, first up, John, what kind of shirt you got on there?
Oh, my Okefenokee Project shirt.
That is a good-looking shirt right there, man. Look at even Happy staring at it.
Look at that, man.
I mean, Happy looking.
Show him the back, John.
I don't know if I can show them the back.
I noticed that.
That means you got to turn around.
Okay.
I got some long arms, but not that long.
Okay.
That's a good-looking shirt.
Thank you.
All right. So the Okefenokee project started because Kevin Crawford reached out to me on Facebook about. I guess he originally had reached out to Johnny, and since I live further south, Johnny told him to, contact me, and he did. And he told me that there was, he'd had some sightings himself, and there were several people in the area that had sightings, and he knew that the, they were in the area. And I said, well, I've been wanting to, start doing some investigations, so I guess I'm fixing to try to check out the Okefenokee Swamp. So I found a group on Facebook called the Black Shear Waycross News Group, and it had the most members in it. So I posted in there looking for people that were willing to come forward with any encounters they had had. And several people actually reached out to me and gave, some awesome reports. And I think I actually might have met John because of that too, not in that group, but in the on Facebook. Another post I had done in another group in Sasquatch, Georgia, and I think that's where I met John. And he gave me his encounter from when he was a kid, and then we just connected from there. So I was, compiling these reports and talking to people and trying to figure out where, the most sightings were, and they're so sporadic. They'll be years apart, in the same area. It was hard to make a game plan. But Kevin, so that Friday night we met at a restaurant, and some locals came and shared stories. We all met each other, for the first time. And then we set up that night behind Kevin's, but we didn't get anything. And then the next day, we were supposed to set up at this certain location on the Little Satilla River. But we were all headed out there, and John came down Friday night, met us at the restaurant. And so that Saturday, he met up with us again to go do the setup, on the river. But we couldn't get back there. Dune buggies or something had been out there riding and just made a huge hole that was just a really deep mud hole. So none of us could get through it. So we were like, well, what do we want to do? I mean, we can't get through there, and that's the only place we have scheduled to set up at. I don't really know what else to do. And so we decided we didn't want to go home. And there was some good pictures sent in from a local of some structures and stuff like that in Ralph Simmons State Park, just over the Florida line.
So what do you do when you don't have your location in the swamp? You go to Florida.
Yeah. So we took all 3 caught vehicles. We took off to Florida, and I had punched in the location. It took us straight to the ranger station. So then we get to the ranger station and find out that we can't camp there because we didn't have reservations, and nobody works in the reservation office on weekends. So we didn't know what to do. Then John knew of somebody that had a private campground. So we was like, well, we just didn't know what to do. So we went to the private campground, and they wasn't there. It was going to be 2 hours before she got there. Meanwhile, I just kept thinking about this place that I had found when I had went down the week prior. I went down the weekend before just to look around, check out places locals had told me about, trying to, figure out a game plan. And I did find one place, but I wasn't crazy about it because it wasn't near water. Not real near water like I wanted to be. I was looking for a main river or something. So I told them, I was like, look, guys, I know of one place. It's on the way home anyway. I can take y'all to it. If you don't like it when we get there, we don't have to stay. But we really ain't got nothing to lose at this point. And that's how.
Why not?
And Scott kept saying something major's gonna happen because we didn't.
Yeah, I told you we're going through all this for a reason.
Yeah.
We're going through all this for a reason to find the right spot.
And and I really didn't think it was gonna. It was creepy feeling there, but I just really thought we needed to be closer to a river. But
That's Captain Joe or Johnny right there.
Yeah. Okay.
so
Andy.
we they was like, well, this looks pretty good. It's a dead end road. There's nobody out there.
Yeah.
All the signs were there.
So April and John go back to town to pick up some things, and they actually brought us back pizza, surprised us with it. And then, so me and Scott stayed and just looking around the campsites, just looking at game trails and some tree breaks that he found and just different stuff. And then it was actually kind of boring. I was kind of getting kind of disappointed. And I remember it was 8:41. And I told Scott, I said, it's going to be a boring night, I'm afraid. He said, well, it ain't but 8:41. You got to, the coyotes' time to start.
Yep.
And so about 9 o'clock, the coyotes started. And that's when we said, well, all right, I get, hopefully we fix to get some action. So anybody want to take it from there?
Well, let's see. April's not here, but I think the owls were next.
Yes.
And then John, was it you heard something come across the road at some point along that time frame?
I got hit about where my floater ribs would connect to my spine in the back with something. And then I heard a thud, like something, how across the street had that little embankment up?
Yeah.
It was like something stepped off and just didn't try to be quiet, just thudump. And that's when everything started. The orb that took off around the entire campground.
Mm-hmm.
And then
I remember the orb. April was the first one to see the orb. And then I think Angie and John, then y'all started talking about it, and I said, well, maybe that's fireflies, and the fireflies aren't out that at this time of year. And I looked around, and by the time I looked around, it had already went however many yards down the tree line, crossed across the campground, and when I saw it, it was up in the trees, crossing the road, and then it went down and out of sight. It was very odd. It was clearly something bouncing around in the treetops.
Yeah, and I have the audio of all that happening. I could not see the orb to video it, but you can hear us talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I finally see it, it had already crossed the road, and by then it was, too small for me to video with my phone. But, it was in the top of the tree line all the way around till it got to the road, and then it dropped down and crossed the road.
And that's when
it had
things
some intelligence to it.
Yeah.
Well, and what struck me is it would up and down, but it never went side to side. It stayed in that plane horizontally. It never went east or west. It would go north and south, but it was almost like it went through trees. You never saw it kind of like almost like a jet motion to get around a tree or anything, but it just floated right through everything like nothing was there.
Yeah, sometime after the orb went down, I think that when I got my video footage with the therm, because the other stuff was after that. So
no, after the Cody started, we knew something was going to happen soon.
Yeah.
And we said, well, let's get all of our stuff and get ready to start recording. And that's when John got up to check his camera to get, and he was like, that's
right.
Weird. My camera battery's dead.
Mm-hmm.
And then come to find out both of them were dead.
My FLIR died.
All 3 batteries.
Oh, 3 batteries. See, all 3 of his batteries for his camera.
My camera was facing directly where the orb materialized and came up out of the woods, April said. Because she told me to point my camera in that direction. She kept telling me, she's like, something's there. Put your camera over there. And that's where the orb came from.
That's where it went down, right?
No, that's where it came up out of the woods. My camera was facing over where you were sitting, Scott. It basically 90 degrees from your right.
Okay.
And that wood line, it came up right there. Because my camera was facing right over the top of your head into that wood line.
Yeah, so when the orb went down on the other side of the road, that's where I got my thermal footage. I didn't think about it at the time when it was occurring, but later it's making sense that it's alleged that the orbs have something to do with Bigfoot. One way or the other, 6 one way, half a dozen another. What it means, I don't know, but my thermal footage that I have is in the wood line across the road where the orb went down and disappeared. And that thermal footage is of something black, because I had it on black heat. You could see 2 knees and 2 hands on both sides of a tree and what appears to be a head poking out on one side, as it would be behind the tree looking towards us across the road. I hit, and then I hit record. Yeah. And when I hit record, I recorded it in that position, and then it changed position to both legs on one side, both hands on one same side as the head. And when I handed it to you, I think it moved, because you came over to look, and then you couldn't find it. It was gone after that. And I think that's came across the road.
I think it dropped straight down and went flat.
May have.
But shortly after that is when we started hearing the growls and him come across the street, or her come across the street, whichever.
Well, I think I remember, I don't know if it was the first one, but I remember April or you pointing out one of the hits that I heard, because I heard it too on the back of the tent, and I remember noting It sounded like a stick or a pine cone dropping out of the tree and hitting the back of the tent.
That's when April said, "That's it. Something just scratched the back of the tent. I am
Yeah.
leaving. I'm going to get a motel room. I don't care what y'all say now. I'm getting out of here."
Yep.
And I was like, "Oh my God, they fixing to leave us here by ourselves. What in the world?"
2 of the rain flaps on the back side of the tent had been popped.
And so those were, in fact, the sounds that we were hearing. We didn't know it at the time.
Yeah, but that's the sounds that we were hearing.
So then when we heard the growls right after that, that was it for April. And y'all decided to leave. You're going to leave your tent and your mattress. And I basically said, if we're going to leave, we're leaving. Let's get everything.
Yeah,
That's how you found. That's how you found the straps, because you wouldn't have found them till the next day. And then we bailed out, and
we were loading the vehicles. Everybody, we pulled our vehicles around. Vehicles were running. We was loading everything up, in a hurry, trying to get out of there because whatever it was had done started growling at us. And that growl, to me, at the time, I said it sounded like an old motorcycle. But I'm telling you, I have found a similar growl of a gator, very similar to what I heard. Now, I know we were in the Okefenokee, and I know there's gators out there, but where we were, I want to stress,
there shouldn't have been a gator.
There was
no gators there.
We were in a sandy, wooded, dry area. But what I heard,
we were in a pine grove.
Gators don't have kneecaps and hide behind trees either. So
yeah, we was throwing everything in vehicles.
I'll say this about growls before you go forward. I'll say this about, I've heard many growls, and I've heard them 100 feet away or more. But these were 20 to 15 feet away, either behind the tent or behind that closest pine tree with the bush. And that's what got us all standing up saying, well, if you're that bold, it's time to go.
Yeah, we knew if it had to be brave to come in that close. I mean,
yeah.
And you could just, the feeling, I even said one time, I said, y'all know we are surrounded, right?
Yep.
I mean, you just knew that you were. I'm sorry, there wasn't but 4 of us. We knew we were outnumbered. We knew we were surrounded.
Mm-hmm.
So then I had one more thing to load up, and I had my truck pulled around. And all during the night, earlier in the night, I kept seeing something in the woods. It looked like it was down in the woods, it looked like a window. And I finally realized it was a reflective sign that was on a tree. And I was like, okay, that makes sense. And so it had caught my eye several times. So whenever I was loading my truck up, I looked up again and I saw the reflective sign, but also there was a tree, and I don't know if it was 2 trees close together or if it made a V, but I saw something shining so bright, reflecting, bright white, and it was about the size of a baseball. And Scott was kind of close by loading up his truck. I said, Scott, come here for a minute. I said, what is that right there? And I pointed, what is that? Is that eye shine? He said, and I had my flashlight shining on it, because before I even asked Scott to check it out, I took I have a super duper flashlight.
It'll burn a hole in a tree.
And so I walked, outward, shining my flashlight all down in the woods, all back behind that tree, to see if there was anything that could be reflecting that I was seeing through that tree. And there was nothing. Like, it absolutely was nothing down in the woods or anything. So I said, Scott, come here. I said, what is that? Is that eye shine? He said, I don't know. I guess I'll go out down there and see if I can check it out.
Yep.
So he starts walking down there, and it's only about 40 yards away from me. It has came into the campground. It is at the first clump of trees inside the campground. And all of a sudden, Scott starts backing up, turns around. I'm not going to say he ran, because he hustled. He sped up a little bit, and he said, we got to get out of here now.
Yep, time to go. Yeah.
Yes. And so I'm like, oh my God, what was that? Oh my God. And so we all took off, and I tried to video as I was leaving, trying to capture anything I could. And, I do have a video that I can look at, and it only has a reflection of that sign. There's nothing else that we could have saw that could
If
have
you,
been mistaken for that. And it was
now,
bright white.
if you
Did
walk,
any of your thermals turn out?
well, the thermal did. I just don't have it downloaded. Well, I'll get it.
I want to see that so bad.
Yeah. My son-in-law is my IT, and he's working on trying to download it onto a laptop. So that's where I am with that one.
That's normal, though, is it?
Huh?
Is that normal practice for that unit? Have you had problems like that before?
Well, it's the first time that I've tried to download the Pulsar onto a laptop. So it's not it picks up the Pulsar, and then it says failed. So it'll get worked out.
See it on there though, Johnny. When he looks, look through the Pulsar and look back.
Yeah, you can see it.
So he's got
the video is there, and I got that.
Well, I can't download directly from my Pulsar to a computer. I have to use the app. Have you tried that?
Not yet. I will.
I'll send you the app, and you might be able to do. You connect will it connect via Wi-Fi to? Have a Wi-Fi option on yours?
Yeah, he's got Wi-Fi at his house. He should be able to do it
on the Pulsar.
Yeah.
Oh.
We lost Scott.
Oh Lord.
Yeah, you just cut out.
Sherry Murray wanted to ask if the orb looked anything like a light from a flashlight or bigger.
There it is.
What I saw did not. What I saw was about the size of a ping pong ball. And
it was golf ball ish.
And it was
it was.
Am I back?
Yeah, you're back.
I blacked out for some reason. I went away and it just came right back. When I walked toward the light, it looked like one light until I started getting closer and I had my flashlight on it. I guess I wasn't really thinking about what I was doing, but I was kind of walking toward it out there into the middle of the campground, away from the trucks and the fire and the light and everything. And I guess I got about 20 yards away, and the top of the tree has a fork in it, or a Y, I guess you could say. And that's what it was looking through. And it started to go looking at me. I noticed it was two eyes instead of one. And it started slumping down out of that Y. And if it was facing me, it appeared to turn to the right and blink. And that's when I knew that it was getting ready to move. And I'm walking toward it. And then I realized, hey, I'm out here in the middle of this field, away from everybody, all alone with whatever this is. It's time to back up. And so, of course, that's when I turned around and told everybody we got to go now. So that's what
we all hightailed it out of there.
Yep.
And, met up at Huddle House or something just to get a cup of coffee and gather ourselves. And that's when I found out. I did not even know till then that whenever me and Scott was there by ourselves and we were both, walking around doing our own thing, he found a tent pulled up into the woods that still had an air mattress in it. Where somebody
I saw that earlier when Scott was reading the sign.
Yeah.
I walked back there and used the restroom and was like, that's not good.
And I thought,
I didn't say nothing because I didn't want to scare April.
Yeah. Well, you remember later on when we were getting ready to leave and I told you, go ahead and take your tent and your mattress. We'll wait on you. Remember when we got ready to leave, I yelled, I said, you might have made us leave, but you didn't get the tent and the air mattress.
I wondered why you said that. I was thinking, they don't want that tent and air mattress.
Yep. But that's why I yelled that, because I remembered that one over in the tree line. So
yeah. So we're going back
Sorry, my cat's flipping out on me.
We need more than 4 people, though.
Yeah.
Yes.
We need at least 8.
I want to take a non-believer.
Yep.
And so when we hear the growls, we're going to say, okay, go over and check it out.
Right.
When we see the eyes shine, I'm going to say, okay, walk on over and check it out.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, I'm not going back without. I'll be packing. That was entirely too. They don't act like that in the North Georgia mountains.
No, sir, they don't. They're friendly and interactive there. They're not as aggressive and bold. Yep.
Yes. These guys are. That was. That was extremely uncomfortable, and I've never been like that. Was just uncomfortable. I wasn't scared. That whole knowing, like what you said a little while ago, Angie. We were surrounded. There was no getting around it. I mean, and they didn't want to kill us, or they would have had us 10 times over. But
they were trying to make us. They were trying to make us leave, and that's what they wanted.
Yep.
I have been to areas where there have been reports of violence up in North Georgia and some other states. I did not experience it there. The only place up until Okefenokee that I would have ever been scared was in Alabama. One that's a whole other story. But we didn't have the opportunity to flee in Alabama because we were 5 hours away in the middle of absolute nowhere, and there was nowhere to go. So we just there were 6 of us, and we just kind of hung together. But in this particular situation with Okefenokee, was clearly, like you said, they want us to leave, and we had the opportunity to leave. So we did the right thing.
I mean, and April kept getting, Scott, you would say something. She told me, because when we got back to the hotel room that night, it was about 2:30, 3 o'clock before I finally got her to stop shaking. I didn't realize she was shaking at Huddle House. We got her back to the room, and I realized she was shaking, and she just said, I'm going to sound crazy if I say it. And I was like, were you not just there with all of us? Like, you're not going to sound crazy to any of the 3 of us that were just there with you. So just tell me what you, and that's when she was saying, like, when you said, they're not going to bother us. They just won't. They're going to let us know they're here. They're not going to. She said she heard laughter in her head and says, how does he know? Every time we would tell her, well, it's okay, they're going to do this, she would hear, how do they know? And that was when she kept asking you, well, how do you know they're not going to hurt us? How do you know?
Right.
She was it was being told to her in her head. And I mean, she lost sleep for about a week over this. Like, she truly did. It messed her up.
Yeah.
They feed on fear. They feed on fear, and they also feed on people who are the least believing, least experiencing. They'll feed on that too. Yeah, and they did, and they sound like they mind spoke to her. So she was.
That's what I feel.
I knew she had an adrenaline dump or was recovering from it when we was at the Huddle House, because she was just a mess. I had issues for 24 hours of like spooking over every little thing. A leaf blowed in my driveway, and I like to had a heart attack. It took me over 24 hours to calm down myself. That's how scared I was and creeped out. It's just.
I got more freaked out the next morning when I went back. When I went back and got that picture of that print.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That was where the hood of, that would have basically been where the hood of my car was.
No, they very well. I've had juveniles come up close enough to hide behind vehicles, but it was a different environment and atmosphere than this. They could have very well been on the other side of our vehicles peeking around, because we weren't really paying attention to that direction. And if there's one, there's 2. So if one of them's sneaking up to you, that close, there's going to be one on the opposite side doing something else to distract you. They're experts at that. But I find it interesting that when I would talk to April, they would answer through April. She just didn't realize it. That was interesting. So they were understanding what we were saying.
Hey, April just walked in the door. I'm going to give her the camera and let her talk for a second, y'all. Hold on.
That's pretty interesting. Pretty interesting. I mean, they were speaking through April. I guess when you guys go back, you guys need to bring back bait. I mean April and.
He's never gonna go out again.
Hey, April.
Hey, April.
April. Thank you for joining
Hey, how are y'all? No
Yes.
problem.
Hey, April.
You can tell
Hey.
April's got a sweet little personality, though. Like she's got a really, I don't know what's the right word, but she's just got a genuine sweet spirit about her, and
Peaceful.
that's why they was picking on her.
I did feel a little targeted.
Yeah, that was more of a mind speak than that was infrasound. I mean, there was some legitimate fear there, but I think that was because you were new at this. But that mind speak stuff, that's different. That's pretty interesting.
Well, it's very hard to tell what was that, and I thought my mind was playing tricks on me until I sat down and when we got to the hotel and just started thinking about all the events and how they occurred.
Yeah, April, you haven't done any like a bunch of like Bigfoot research and stuff. Like you had no idea about mind speak. Did you even know what an orb was? Had you even heard of an orb?
I didn't. When y'all kept saying orb, I was thinking aliens, and I was actually like more terrified thinking that like, I was fixing to get abducted.
Yeah, so she's the one that saw the orb to start with.
Yep.
So here she is experiencing all this stuff that's reported so many times by other people, but yet she don't even know like the proper words to even use to describe what she's experiencing.
Mm-mm.
You know, that
I didn't.
Go ahead.
So, I was just saying I didn't understand what was going on. I knew it was unusual, and it just felt like it was drawing me into it, the orb, when it started. And I kept telling John when he first started setting up the camera that there was this one section that I just could not seem to pull my eyes away from. And it I don't know, it just kept like pulling me into it. And then when I saw the light, I was thinking maybe it was an airplane, because I mean, you could still see some airplanes going through the trees. But this one was much closer and lower than where the airplanes were. So then I thought maybe it was a lightning bug. But the way that it was brighter than a lightning bug, and the way that it moved wasn't like a lightning bug. And then John was like, "What are you looking at?" And I kept pointing to the light, and it just moved around us.
Well, do you think that are you comfortable enough to remember what was said to you? You may not remember all of my statements, but do you remember some of the things that was said to you?
Well, I didn't. I'm gonna be honest with you. Y'all talking about it, I felt like it was y'all were like a seance, and y'all were trying to bring it in. And so every time I would hear the name, I get like this tightening in my chest. I was just like, "Oh my God, this is not good. This is not good." And so I tried to tune y'all out the conversation, and I just could not take my attention off of what was around me. And John kept asking me if I was okay. And saying yes, but my face is saying no. And mostly because I didn't want to be the reason that the trip ended sooner than it did. And so when you said that we were going to be okay and they weren't going to hurt us, they were just going to let us know they were there. There was laughter, and it was, how do you know that? And then the words just come out of my mouth. Well, how do you know that? And I didn't feel as if I was comforted with the answer. I know you tried, but I wasn't very comforted with that. But now I did put some fear aside a little bit with the equipment that you had brought with you. And then it just seemed like when we sat back down, as soon as I felt a little bit more at ease, they came at us a little stronger. And reminded me that no, you don't need to be here, is what I kept hearing. And then it felt as if when we heard the sound on the tent, that was, for me, that was my breaking point. I was done. There wasn't nobody keeping me there. And I was either going to drive myself to the hotel, which I hoped was not going to be the case, and John would take me, because I really didn't want to drive down that 3 miles by myself. and then when he decided that he was going to go, I felt like that was when, and y'all weren't going to go, y'all were going to stay. I felt like that was when it got more aggressive with y'all, and you could hear it more. And then y'all both were like, no, we're leaving. And so I felt like it was telling me from the beginning that we didn't need to be there. And I just could not get past. I couldn't relax. I didn't relax at all.
You made the right decision, and we made the right decision based on what was happening, because you were already getting mind speak where it was belligerent to at least what I was saying. If we had stayed, I firmly believe that you would have started to get messages to come over here, or go somewhere, and you might have listened to it, because it would have changed to infrasound. Then they would have started hitting you harder. So it was a very good thing that we all left.
April made a good point. Her and John decided they were leaving. Remember, I said, "Oh my God, y'all gonna leave us here by ourselves?" And me and you just kept sitting there, and that's when me and you heard the growl.
Yep, right behind us.
Like it didn't scare all four of us off with the tent. So then it really got mad, and then actually growled, so we'd hear it to know it was serious, that it was time for us to go.
Yeah.
It was exciting, John. He was getting really pumped up about it, and I know he kept asking me whenever I was ready that we could go. And so before the tent scratching, I was at that point where I was telling him I'm ready to go, and he was like, "No, it's just getting started."
Yeah.
And I was just, no, this isn't good.
So April, were you before going out on this field investigation with the group and your husband John, were you like a Bigfoot enthusiast, or were you just like the unwilling tribute that
the unwilling tribute?
Yeah.
Squatch bait.
Did you have like a believer, or were you have any interest, or you just like, I'm just gonna go with an open mind?
I believed in them before. I did not need the verification, but I went because it seemed, I like camping, so it seemed like a fun thing to do until we pull up and there is nobody around, and it is just the four of us. And I was fine with that until it got dark, and then I was on high alert the rest of the night. But I did already believe and I listen to a lot of stuff that John listens to. Sometimes because he has control of the radio. So, but I do. I mean, I already believed in like extraterrestrial as well. I mean, I believe those are possibilities, and but now I've witnessed it, and I had an experience back in the Grand Tetons, but that was, I wasn't confident that I saw what I saw, but now I'm like 99.9% sure that what I saw in the Grand Tetons, I didn't deal with that specifically, but that my mind wasn't playing tricks on me then.
So after you guys packed up all your gear, threw it in your vehicles, you guys all went out to Waffle House and all that, right? Or you were at a hotel, right?
Right.
I guess the mind speak and all that ended, or I mean, there was no more communication, or what? You didn't hear anything, didn't feel anything after you left that area?
As we were driving out, I studied the sides of the road on my passenger side pretty thoroughly, because it's weird how and I'm sure a lot of people can do this, but I can look through the trees even as I'm driving past them, and it doesn't look like a blur. I can see through them, and which is how I saw the one in the Grand Tetons. It was very large and white, and it's when we got out of there, I kept feeling. I can't say I keep feeling, but at that moment, I was so terrified that I don't know if it was still speaking to me, keep going, or that was me saying, don't stop and keep going.
April, you ever
all right. I mean, I didn't know, like, if they can communicate. I mean, if there's, once you're out of line of sight, you might say, that there's any ability to still have this detection with them, or maybe they told you don't get the omelets at Waffle House, but so now then when you got home, I think John said you're pretty disturbed over the experiences and all that.
Yeah, well, that night in particular, I didn't stop shaking and fall asleep till well after 2:00. And then I had dreams. And then when we got home, I still had dreams. And then there was one night I was coming home from work, probably about a week after it happened. And it was a rainy night. It was a very dark road with only 2 lanes. And I was not holding my phone. It was very foggy also. And I wasn't holding my phone. My phone was sitting in the cup holder, and it just kept turning on and shutting itself off repeatedly. And I don't know what that was, but of course, I accelerated a little faster to get to get home. But and when I picked it up after like the 4th time that it's done turned itself off and came back on, it stopped, and the fog, dissipated, and it was okay. And then here, the last probably week or so, we have a motion detector floodlight that blinds me where my part of the bed is. And here lately, it's been going off 2 or 3 times a night, which is something that's never happened in the 3 years that we've been here.
You live in a neighborhood, or do you live out in the woods?
We're in a neighborhood,
okay.
But you can disappear in the woods here very quickly.
Okay.
Wow.
So and I'm still on edge.
Yes, Johnny.
I'm sorry, April. I've literally been trying to talk for like 3 minutes. I don't guess my.
You're very low, Johnny. You're very low.
We're used to that technical. We're used to your technical malfunction, Johnny.
Well, it's hard to learn all this stuff when Elon Musk is calling me all the time, asking me to help him with his rockets.
You need to upset your wife more often than she sits there right next to you and just let her take over.
It's poking him the whole time. She's poking him in the arm the whole time.
Exactly. You go and make them t-shirts and let her sit here.
Yeah.
Elon's texting him, hurry up, you got to get back to the lab. Yeah.
Hello.
Hi, Johnny. What you got to ask?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I can.
You can?
Yes.
Did you ever get any kind of images in your head?
No, I didn't. I didn't have any images.
How did it come across? Just did it sound like words in your head?
It did. And it was, I guess I didn't put it together that that's what it even was, because it wasn't me. But when we got back to the hotel and I was able to finally get my heart rate to relax and I could talk about what happened, things that started clicking and I was able to, I guess, put the pieces together. Like, for instance, with the orb starting where it started, it was until we started talking about it that was where I said to put the camera. And it was just that, until we got back to the hotel, I didn't realize that it was talking to me and that was even a thing. I mean, I had heard some of his videos where people talk about it, but I didn't understand it.
I personally don't think it's Sasquatch doing that. I think there's something that uses either the situation. I don't know how you want it.
Or hangs out waiting on that fear to come.
I don't think Sasquatch themselves are doing that. Just like with the orbs and stuff, they're related somehow. But this other thing, this mind speaking thing, to me, it seems evil. It doesn't seem flesh and blood, and it doesn't, I don't know. It's two completely different. I don't know. I don't know what that is. It would make me extremely uncomfortable. Like I can handle anything, but something in my head, I'm not so sure I would have hung out as long as you did. I probably would have went to the hotel.
It kept telling me to leave, and my heart kept telling me, my head kept telling me to leave. My heart kept saying, I don't want to be the reason that John doesn't enjoy his Sasquatch trip. And so it was a battle for me, because I wanted him to have a good weekend, but he's saying we had a great weekend. I didn't want him to leave because of me, but I really tried to be understanding and to kind of look past the things that were happening. But when it was right next to us and scratching at that tent, which found out later it had popped the rain flies on the tent, that was it. I mean, and John said that he had never seen that look in my eyes. He had never, I was so forceful in telling him that I'm not staying, that he knew something, it just wasn't right. And I think that was why not only that wasn't the only reason I think he decided to leave, but he said it was. So I guess that was it.
Wow. So April, one of the folks who are following along with us tonight, Anna, she asked, would you go back?
Judged by that look.
I want to. I would hope that it would be with more than just the four of us.
You gotta go back more than four. I wouldn't go back with four again.
And we've got a bigger vehicle. I would not go back in that little car. It's not going to happen. So When there was one point when all of our devices were dying, or just about, if they weren't just about dead, they were dead. We all like separated to go to our vehicles to charge our devices, and I stayed in the car, and I had actually texted John from the car because he moved it up closer to the road, which I wasn't crazy about. And as I was sitting there, I kept feeling like something was watching me, and it wasn't them, because I kept looking at them and they weren't looking at me. In which that bothered me also, because if something happened, I didn't feel like anybody would know. And so I texted him and I asked him if he moved the car back to where it was closer to where they were sitting, and he didn't get that message because his phone was connected to Bluetooth still. So I heard the ringtone of it, but he never heard it. And so as I sat there, I kept thinking, this doesn't, I'm not safe, is what I felt at that moment. I was not safe. Nobody saw me. I mean, they probably would have noticed had something come and grab me, but I didn't feel safe. And so I got out of the car and quickly moved to back to where they were sitting. And I kept looking at the tent thinking, I know we put it up. I'm not staying in there. I'll stay in the car. I'm not staying in a tent. And I just didn't feel like that we were protected as much as we needed to be, based off of what we were dealing with.
Now, it was you and John's tent where the shock cords for the tent fly were released.
Yes, and the crazy part is that I couldn't get it by myself. So he came over there to help me, and he was holding it, holding them down. And I realized that I didn't set them right. And so I went back and reset the ones on the side that I had done, and I knew that they were right. And then we had some very strong gusts of wind come through, that the whole the rainfly had like wind come up underneath. You could see it floating, and it didn't come off. So for John to walk around after that whole experience and they weren't connected, something disconnected them.
Oh, wow. Well, Angie, looks like you got to find a new tribute field investigator to come out with you guys next time you go down there.
I'm gonna miss April. She's got to come.
Maybe you can start a lottery, you know?
What me and April's going to do is we're going to sleep all day, and we're going to be prepared to sit up all night. When I go back out there, I'm not sleeping. I'm going to be watching the entire night. I'm not laying down.
I'll go back. It's just with more than 4 people. Not that I don't trust the 3 of y'all, but I felt like if they were willing to do everything that they did already, if we had stayed, it had just gotten worse.
Well, and it's how that we were leaving, and it still came into the campground, into that first tree.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
To my experience, y'all are right. 4 people are not enough. They look at strength in numbers. Okay, it doesn't matter who it is at first. It's as if we got 8 and they have 4, then they're not going to come in close. They may do stuff, but they're not going to be doing the stuff they did when it was just 4 of us. Right. And then you have to look at them as not at the intelligent level that we as humans have reached. They have some characteristics to where they think men are the hunters. They're the threat. They're the ones that they got to worry about. They don't so much worry about females. We know better today, but they don't. But they were looking at our group of 4 as there was just 2 guys that they had to worry about. Yeah. So if there was 4 of them there, that's why they came in, because they outnumbered us. And in their eyes, they outnumbered us.
There was
And
one
so,
other crazy thing that happened when we went back to get when he got the picture of the footprint.
mhm.
I didn't tell him this until after we left because I did not want him to stop and go like try to find it. But when we were pulling down off of the paved road onto the dirt road, you could see the bathroom straight down that road. When we turned, I saw a figure in front of that bathroom, and it took off to would have been my right. It's left. As quick as I looked up, it was gone. And I didn't tell him because I knew that he'd stop and try to go find it in the woods, and I was not trying to be there any longer than we had already been there.
I don't blame you.
About how big was it, April? Did you tell?
From where we were driving, it stood taller than the bathroom. Like the building
Really?
itself. Yes, it was. I could see. It was like the head of it was over where the bathrooms were. Now, I mean, we were. What is that? Probably a quarter of a mile down that first part of that dirt road, or is that half a mile?
Somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, I mean, it would be smaller from a distance, but it was still, I could tell that it was still big enough because it cleared the top of that roof of that bathroom.
So the head, you would say the head is above the bathroom roof.
Yes.
That's a 10-footer at least.
Yeah, it was big.
That's a 10-foot squatch, 9 at the minimum.
Or it was on the roof, one or the other.
Could have been.
It moved so fast. I mean, it moved in the blink of an eye because I blinked. Just it's more of that. This really is that what I'm seeing? So I blinked, and in the matter of me blinking, it was gone.
Well, the one behind the tree that I walked up to that night when we were leaving, that was probably, in my estimation, 9 feet. Looking through that Y in the tree. If who's to say it wasn't the same one? You just never know.
Yeah, I didn't tell him about it because I didn't want to say it.
I won't say nothing.
The one that I saw in front of the bathroom when we were pulling down the road when we got the footprint.
You saw one?
I told you about it. I said as we were.
Oh, that's right. My bad.
So.
All right. Well, that was our experience in the Okefenokee.
That's right.
We're still taking reports.
Wow,
Any listeners have any encounters there? We'd like to hear from you.
I think we need to conscript a Okefenokee army.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if any of y'all out there got some experience and you want to get out there for a night or two, come on, let us know.
I've had several people from down there send me messages. Well, one guy in particular, 2 guys today said they've had similar experiences, and they live there.
I think Heard County and the Okefenokee, either one would both be good returning spots, but with more people. Because one of the things we did on both of those that we haven't done yet. Oh, let me switch that around. One of the things we haven't done yet is take groups of 3 or 4 and go out and walk a trail.
At night.
You get a lot of activity that way. We've mostly stayed around the camp, which works great. They come in, but we haven't had enough people where I felt safe going on a walk, and leaving somebody behind, because you don't want to leave one person at camp by themselves. Yeah, it's just not.
When you're doing this, you need to have the buddy system at all times.
Correct. So
did the tent that got abandoned? Sorry. Did it get brought up already? The abandoned tent and mattress?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was. Had I known that, I probably wouldn't have lasted that long.
Me too.
Y'all remember when we interviewed Mike Taylor, and he's talked about over the years all the different tents, like really, really high dollar tents and equipment just left behind, looked like it'd been there for months, like people just got up and left.
Yes.
I was
Yeah, it was
fully,
really, really expensive stuff, you know.
And
I was
here's
fully
an
content leaving ours.
yeah. This was
I was
almost
okay with it.
this our incident was almost the second one that probably was for the same reason. You know, time to go. I don't.
Yeah.
I mean, why would you leave a tent in the air mattress? You know.
Yeah.
So,
Not in a place
Exactly.
like that, especially when you're
Yeah.
you know you're parking there. You know,
Yeah.
if it's 15 miles away in a primitive site, then yeah, maybe somebody gets
Mhm.
lazy or hurt or something. But you know, not that doesn't make any sense, man. Somebody probably got scared if I had to guess. So
Yeah, I wouldn't say they got taken, because if they got taken, there'd be a vehicle there. But
They
you know,
left in a hurry.
well,
yep, they did.
probably would have taken the tent for evidence.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, they left in a hurry and didn't go back the next day.
Nope.
Didn't get
And
their
No.
tent.
wrote it up as a loss.
Yep.
Well, we were gonna go over all the stuff with Happy and Joe, but we're already going on. What,
I
2
think we need
hours
to do that some other time.
Yeah, we'll just do that some other time. I mean, I wanted you guys to be able to get your stuff out there because, you know, we already put the documentary together for our stuff. So people have kind of already seen it, but I wanted you guys to be able to, you know, explain everything you have. If we'll work on getting the video and audio and hopefully putting it together as a separate video, put it up. That way people can go over that.
An evidence show.
Yeah. An evidence show. We all got to figure these computers out.
Yes, definitely.
I'll practice.
The hard part.
I'll get better, I promise.
Yeah.
Do y'all by chance get any of the sound?